Okay, good morning. My English name is Faye Halls. It was Faye Baker before I got married. My ancestral name is Yield Salawit. I am the youngest daughter of the late Kakwacha CM, Chief Simon Baker, who comes from the Matthias family. And my mother was Emily Rivers. And I grew up on the Hamilshasson Reserve. I'm one of 9 children. I have spent my life and purpose in trying to help any Indigenous kids with reading problems, concerns. I've been really deep into education. But I've been retired for 10 years. And I also have experience as a department head and being on council, and was mentored by my father while I was growing up in the old style of teachings.
And tell me why we're here.
We're here because I'm not only myself, but people have been phoning me in the community and members coming and saying how unhappy they are with the way nobody is listening to our voice, and attending what they call People's Assembly, when they only allow elders 2 minutes to speak and they shut you down, and it's so against our way, and that you can't even get to visit council without going through all these ridiculous steps. And I was being on a council and working for the nation is very, very difficult. And I went through actually a breakdown when I was on council and had to take a year off afterwards because of the internal bullying or lateral violence. That's the word I'm looking for. And so I swore to myself that when I retired, I would just step away. But my dad came to me in a dream, as he does quite a bit, and he gives me direction when I feel like I'm lost. And he came to me in a dream and he said, "Daughter, you're my leader. You're my legacy. You have to stand up for this. This isn't our way. And you've got to do it." And so that's what started this journey. This was late fall, before Christmas. I started trying to figure out how we could change the current council that we have. And that took me about 8 months of studying what they call the electoral reform law. And the deeper I got into it, the more I realized that my hands were tied unless I followed their steps. So I started meeting with Bertha and Bill and Gibby to help me on this avenue, that the only way we can beat them at the game is to follow their rules, which made us all feel like residential school and non-native governance. So that started the adventure, and I spent hours and hours, and I can't even tell you how many steps I went through, that I hit another barrier, and then I'd hit another barrier. And there's things in the insane things like you have to pay $100 to do a petition. And then you have to get 960 signatures. Then it has to get passed at 2 people's assemblies and an AGM before they will accept those signatures. So every time I tried something, there were barriers, and I had to try something else, switch lanes, and it was just absolute insanity. And so in almost to the point it makes you made me want to give up. But I'm like, no, I'm not going to let them win. This is too important. They brought to us, the membership, to vote in 2018 on this new law, and it was 5 things to vote on. What resulted out of that was 162 pages of law around everything possible to keep people away from council, people away from the leadership. And membership has no idea that this exists. Pay $100 for the first petition, and they have to correct it and approve it, and then you have to pay $200 for the second petition. And it's mind-blowing how controlling that is, and so against our hereditary teachings. My dad, spent a lot of time with me. He mentored me. He taught me, we believe in our people. We see the strengths in people, and we praise them and say, you're going to be a good leader in carving. You're going to be a good leader in dancing. You encourage people. They know who the leaders in the community are. And as soon as this new law was passed, everything in our community changed. And it's like the doors to the building were locked and nobody will listen to our voice. And it's hurtful, and it's not our way ever. And it's just getting worse and worse. And I think the fact that there's censorship by a non-Squamish person, department heads now, before they can go to council, have to supply a report, and they have to give it to the CEO that works with council. And he has the right to send it back and say, it's not good enough. I need changes. I don't like this. I don't want it this way. And so then they have to redo it. So it takes like 5 times sometime before it even hits the council table. And then it hits the council table, and we only have 8 councillors, but 4 are away and 3 are related. So it's the ultimate of unfairness and censorship is occurring, and employees for the nation are afraid to say anything for fear they will lose their job. And I believe deeply in our people. I believe deeply in our teachings. When I grew up on Homolchison, everybody looked after each other. We were really small reserve behind the plaza, and everybody shared their fruit and vegetables. And it was an awesome feeling. And we're losing that feeling. We're losing that togetherness. And I think the most insulting thing for me is the lack of respect for our hereditary chiefs. And to celebrate 100 years of amalgamation without acknowledging those chiefs' families that signed the original documents, to me was a total insult to our history and our legacies that our ancestors tried to pass down. And I think it's important. I'm reaching out. I want communities to stand up. I want youth to stand up. It isn't for me personally. I don't want to be on council. I do not want to be famous or have an ego. I want this for my children, my grandchildren, and the future generations. I feel like we're going backwards. It's like residential school and white governance. And it's frightening. It's really frightening to me how much control one person has over our whole nation. And all because of this one document that we have to change, and we have to fight to have it changed. That is the main reason I came forward, because we as a community need to stick together for our ancestors. I can feel my dad in the room with me right now. He's always with me. And they didn't work that hard all those years ago to get here and go backwards. So I'm speaking from my heart. And I have 3 daughters and 5 grandchildren, and I'm doing this for them and for everybody else's grandchildren. The fact that it's all related to that law, which frightens me, but it's not just that we can't get to council. They're not bringing things to membership to vote on, $1 million deals that should be brought to membership. They are not bringing them. In fact, the chair is not even getting approval from council to voice his opinion on things. He just does it. So there is no reins on him. And the fact that nobody has had an increase in DB, we've got elders struggling, and our healthcare is getting pulled back because there's no money. We have youth that need support in the community. We have children dying of drugs. None of that is a priority. And yet they want to celebrate Amalgamation Day and pay fortune on stuff to give away. And that really breaks my heart that their priorities are all mixed up. My dad lived till he was 90, died in 2001. He fought for 15 years before he died to have an elder's home on this reserve where people could stay together and have the fish and food they like. And to this day, there is still no elders' home. And now we have elders in non-native homes all over North Vancouver. My mom lived in one for 4 years. And it was sad because nobody from the elders visited her. Nobody came and sang songs to her. And it was just family. But they're not looking after the elders. They're not looking after the youth. Now they've cut down the monthly food that they give out to those that need it. Oh, they've cut that back, and now it's soup and sandwich night. They're not giving the food out. You have to go there and eat the food. And it's just all wrong. It's all wrong. It's just they've lost the roots. And I know there's enough membership that believe we need to come forward. There's just so many issues, but when you try to delve into them, they all go back to that document. So, and that document was developed by the chair before the council thing changed with a commission group and a lawyer. But I've talked to people that sat on that commission, and they said they had no idea of the impact. They had no idea what they were agreeing to. You know, the way it was explained to them, it was a good thing. So now it's time to change. But it's everything. The issue, I'm just feeling really sad for the chiefs, the hereditary chiefs, the matriarchs. I'm not a chief, but I'm a matriarch. I was a leader in the community for many years at Oslahan Learning Center, and I help those kids that nobody else would help. They need self-esteem. They need somebody to build them up. They just need to put one step forward. But now they've changed back to the way it was. They've just got GED. There's no culture in the classes. There's no fun in the classes. There's no free food. And it's wrong. But they'll go out and have huge staff lunches, and they'll go out and have a huge staff party, but they won't feed the students. Where when I was there, the students came first. So just every issue, you can't sort of attack one at a time until we take apart that referendum law, which is everything is hidden behind.
So one thing that has been brought up is that many of the council meetings are in camera, so they're not open to the public, and that we do not know what they're passing or what they're talking about, and the information is not being shared. So what would you like to see?
I would like to see us to go back to custom law. I would like to see us go back to the traditional ways where you could go and sit in at any time in a council meeting. And, it's awful, but the way the council meetings are run now, he has rules. You have to address them as Mr. Council or whatever. You cannot speak until you're spoken to. You only have so many minutes to speak. And I showed up at council. Chief Gibby and I went. They were talking about the commission, so we wanted to see whether they were going to approve it or not. So it's things like this that, are we in kindergarten? Like, don't speak till you're spoken to, and no respect for elders. It's bad, and I just really need the community to come together the way they used to, and just so many changes have happened over the year that was wrong. Like, one example is when they started giving money and food vouchers when somebody passed away, and then people stopped coming over and bringing food. Now they just hire people, and that's just one example of many. And that there are new hereditary chiefs that are there for the money. They're there for the big show, to do the openings. But you never see them gathering with the people. You never see counsel on them at the funerals. And they're not there for the people. So we need to stand together and make a change and go back to custom traditional law. And it may take us another decade because they've got us in this tangled mess that I don't know if we can just throw the whole law out, or we have to start with changing the election, which is top priority because it's just over a year away. So those are my words from my heart.
So how do you feel about the idea that the colonized become the colonizers, and that our council members at this current time have not developed and strengthened their sense of inner power and control? So they're having to do power moves, and they're forgetting their ancestors and the people that are living on this reserve. They've forgotten who they are.
I agree, and I honestly don't understand it because the chair was raised by a very honorable woman, Audrey Rivers, who I loved and had beautiful teachings. And he's lost that. It's all about ego. And the council that I voted in, I wanted the traditional ones back again. But for some reason, whether they're afraid of them or they haven't got the strength, they're not standing up and fighting for what we put them there for. And since we lost Chief Dickey, that's even worse. So now we're down one more and we gained another family member. So they're definitely not following the traditional way. And I'm really, really disappointed that they're still working on Zoom when there's no reason for it. And also the fact that when they have a people's assembly and you get up and speak, at the general meetings, somebody from the council would respond to you. You speak at the people's assembly and nobody responds. And the chair doesn't even chair the meeting. He gets somebody else to chair the meeting because he's on Zoom. And so there's no personal contact at all happening. And never visits the elders center. The elders have become nothing and the youth have become nothing. I don't know what they're striving for, business. But Squamish Nation has become a joke among the Native communities because there's a big picture of our chair on Maclean's magazine, the leader of the richest nation in Canada. Oh yeah, we're so rich that we got hungry people on the reserve, kids dying of overdoses, elders like myself that can't get the help they need. No, we're not a rich reserve, not at all. We're not rich in our traditional teachings anymore. We're not rich in mentoring our youth because it's all about ego and it's wrong. And it's going to be a lot of hard work moving forward. And to this point, it's only been like 6 of us. And the other thing is they won't fund anything. So we've all been using our own money to photocopy at Staples and to pay people to deliver notices because we're not a committee accepted by council.